water is cleaner.
Good one. Oh, yeah. No, that one. That's more.
Try to see if I can find you some other cool stuff.
There's a snail.
So we've got snails, ornaments.
How old would this be?
You know, it's very difficult to tell. Sometimes you can tell based on its size, but you'd have to have a scale, and sometimes you can see age rings in the walls, but it doesn't actually.
You will see that there's a bit of increase in diversity and the health of the system from where we were to where we are now. So that's basically the river has this capability of purifying, self-purification. So, but now if we keep on putting more pressure on it, extracting water, it will lose that ability.
You have a large channel of vegetation, and vegetation depends on things like nitrogen and phosphorus. So if you have large stretches of river, so here's the sewage input, and the river flows down here, and you sample here, and then it goes through this corridor of vegetation. That vegetation sucks up the nutrients. It's almost like it's purifying the river. And that's one of the ecosystem services that these ecosystems provide, is purification. So if you didn't have any more inputs, then down here, your system would be much cleaner. The problem is when you have all these different farms that are using cow manure or fertilizers, or you've got inputs from sewage facilities or for towns, here, 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 and here. And then even though it's trying to purify itself as it goes down the river, it's still having more and more inputs. So if you have a large stretch of river that isn't being polluted, then it has the capability to purify itself.
And that's also the challenge in towns, where they often channelize rivers, and so the streams in a town often they're just covered with concrete or the channel, and there's no vegetation that can grow there. So that completely removes that chance of the vegetation pulling out nutrients.
Orientation that we do is very carefully crafted. A lot of thought goes into it, and it's really underpinned by our 4E philosophy, which is economy, ethics, ecology and equity. So very early on in the MBA orientation, all MBA students go out to the Assumption Development Centre, which is in Georgia. We require them to engage with Grahamstown based entrepreneurs, and it's always very inspiring, but at the same time it's very humbling and it grounds us to appreciate that there are entrepreneurs out there who are really struggling to eke out a living. And this is not a once-off thing that we go there, just have a look-see and come back to our classroom. Our MBA students are required to engage with these entrepreneurs throughout the course of the MBA, and I could see that they were really taken by the experience. What we also have our students do is mini SAS, which we've got some fantastic footage that shows them understanding the importance of biodiversity. And we often hear increasingly these days where commentators talk about business being in an ecosystem. But what concerns me about this analogy is that I don't think there's any recognition of the ecology behind this. So really what we want to demonstrate is that yes, we are part of an ecosystem, but in order to understand this ecosystem we need to actually go out there and see an ecosystem at work. And one thing that we discover is that the level of pollution in the rivers is of great concern. And certainly we can't blame the communities around this river, because as we discover, marginalized communities who really struggle day to day to make ends meet, it's always going to compromise our natural environment. And we need to wake up to the realization that together, unless we address issues of social and economic inequality, drive strong economies and an ethical mindset, I'm afraid that the future is going to continue to be bleak for a number of people. But we believe the solutions can be there, that business is the greatest force for change, and we really want our MBA students to start off thinking about the planet and people. And really, it's not about how much money you make, but it's how you make your money and the contribution that we're going to make.
We are back on campus after spending a delightful day with the Rhodes Mini-SAS scientists from the Department of Zoology and Entomology. We are now heading over to the MBA teaching room to ask our MBA 2017 students what they have learned about vulnerable ecosystems and what business should do about that. Let's hear from them.
So today was really interesting as we got to see from a hands-on perspective what some of the environmentalists are doing and how they're trying to make their work accessible to everyone in society from a civil science point of view. And what I really took from it was also when they explained about the environment's way of regenerating. So we got to see from two sides' perspectives of how over time the water can increase its quality just naturally. And when you look at that from a business perspective, if you are aware that you can also improve your business practices to be more environmentally aware, it will over time also affect everyone around.
There you understand that in this case businesses need to come in, but businesses will also come in only if they are well informed. Sometimes they may not know the great direct impact that they have on the environment, on the ecosystem or the living organisms that were supposed to be preserved. But then in this case, they need to be sensitized so that they can give or they can meet government halfway in trying to find better ways or mechanisms around it so that we could preserve the nature, we could preserve the physical image of the surrounding or the river itself.
I've just experienced an amazing day. We went out to see a river close up and personal just outside of Grahamstown. Now I see rivers on a regular basis with my work, flying around fixing power lines for Eskom, but seeing it from above and actually experiencing it close up, touching it, smelling it, and seeing all the pollution so close to home was actually quite a frightening experience. And I know myself personally and Eskom, the company I work for, the environment's very important, but it just hit home that we have to all start doing something. So from a personal and a professional kind of standpoint, I realized that I can't stand by and expect other people to do something. I have to do something, and I have to encourage the people I work with to do something, and we all can make a difference. So seeing what I saw today, I know I don't think I do put it off, but I can't put off making as much effort as I can to make a difference to the environment.
I must say it was one of the most incredible experiences for myself. I thought on the first, when we were told we were going to go test water as an MBA class, I thought it was quite comical, especially when we were driving out there, you know, thinking these are all people from business and stuff. And when we arrived there, the thing that really hit me was the smell of the river. And I think for many of us in South Africa, we know that the rivers around our homes and stuff are quite polluted, but it doesn't really affect us that much. I know for myself, coming from Joburg, the rivers are no-go zones, and you know that they're just really quite gross and disgusting. But to actually test it and to see the effects and to see how badly polluted this particular section of river was quite eye-opening for myself. It really made it hit home and really made the issue quite close to home. And then what was really awesome was we went a couple of k's down the road to the same river, but obviously further down where it flows, and the river itself had actually kind of cleaned itself, and so the results that we picked up there were a lot cleaner. And so I think for myself, when I think about what business can do when it comes to actually looking after our environment and rivers, I think one of the amazing programs that are offered is that we can adopt a river. And so perhaps businesses need to start thinking about ways in which they can stop dumping stuff into rivers, because it ultimately affects us, and perhaps look at ways in which they can help to actually invest in adopting a river. And we were able to see what the effects of what happens when a river is cleaned.